Stoker. And the Jordanaires, the Jordanaires all the way through with the time with Elvis. Gordon Stoker, he was actually the first Jordanaire to sing on an Elvis record in the...
Oh, was he?
Yeah, the second session on January the 11th at McGavick Street with I Was the One and I'm Counting on You. The Chet Atkins didn't hire the whole Jordanaires because he had Ben and Brock Speer from the Speer family to do. They just signed with RCA as well, so he sort of brought them in to back Elvis up and sort of as a concession, because Elvis wanted the Jordanaires, but he was a new, untried artist on a major label, so things. But he brought Gordon Stoker in, so it was Gordon Stoker and the two Speer brothers who sang back up on this session and the April 14th session. Boudleaux and Felice Bryant. These are the songwriters, nearly all the Everleys, 56, Wake Up Little Susie, okay. Bye Bye Love, Problems, All I Have to Do Is Dream, of course, Bird Dog. I'm trying to think the other song they wrote, I think they wrote Raining in My Heart, Buddy Holly, you know.
Oh, yes.
And Rocky Top, I think they wrote Rocky Top. Yeah. Otis Blackwell, so another songwriter there for Elvis. Yeah, Otis Blackwell wrote Don't Be Cruel, All Shook Up,
Did he?
Return to Sender. Yeah. Of course, on those early Elvis ones, Colonel Parker had done a publishing deal where Elvis is down as co-writer of the songs. All Shook Up, I think, was the last song that Elvis's name appeared on, that he had no hand in writing anyway. He was uncomfortable. Elvis was uncomfortable having his name on a song that he had no input into. No, Lynn Anderson, I think she's sung Rose Garden.
Oh, okay.
Apart from that, I don't know anything about Lynn Anderson. And they've got Liz Anderson there with a music note.
The Anderson family.
Yeah. Is that Lynn Anderson then or Liz Anderson as well? Don't know. Tammy Wynette. Yeah, Tammy Wynette, of course, she's a big country singer in her own right. But interestingly, she was in the audience at the Elvis's Tupelo shows in September '56.
Was she?
She's in the crowd. Yeah, there's a couple of pictures where you can, where she's in the pictures. You can see she's quite close to the stage. Yeah, Jerry Hubbard's Jerry Reed, wrote Guitar Man in US Mail for Elvis. And when they couldn't replicate the guitar on Guitar Man from Jerry Reed's original, they called him in and he played on the recording of Guitar Man. Dottie Rambo, country singer. She recorded a lot of her hits at Studio B. And up there's Jim Brown. Jim Brown toured with sister Maxine Brown. They toured with Elvis in 1955 quite a bit. Elvis actually visited their home on one of the tours, stop off, spend the night. Jim and Maxine Brown. And here's J.D. Sumner. Of course, J.D. Sumner and the Stamps. Back to Elvis from November '71 to the last concerts in June '77. J.D. Sumner first, Elvis and J.D. Sumner first acquainted when J.D. Sumner joined the Blackwoods in 1954 following the plane crash at the end of June '54 that killed Bill Lyles and R.W. Blackwood. Yeah. Yeah, J.D. Sumner became the new bass singer for the Blackwoods, and he tells tales of Elvis very often attending their all-night singings at the Ellis Auditorium, and one time didn't see Elvis, and when he saw him the next time asked why, and Elvis said he didn't have the money to get in, and J.D. Sumner told him to come and see him, and he wouldn't have to pay, he'd let him in. That wouldn't have happened very often, I shouldn't imagine, because not long after Sumner joined the Blackwoods, of course, Elvis recorded That's Alright Mama, so his recording career was starting to take off, so he was getting a little bit of money, not a great deal of money in the first few months, no doubt, but starting to make a career well enough to pack in his job in November of '54 to be a full-time musician. It's a beautiful place. It's well, you'd hope it would be quiet and serene anyway, obviously, but it really is. I'm not sure what these rooms are, so I don't know if this is just a relaxation room, but it's like somebody's home. So these are like service rooms, I assume, that
Families.
yeah.
She's showing a lot of different ones.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It is a beautiful place, isn't it? So this is one of the more elaborate graves here in Woodlawn Memorial Gardens. It's George Jones. This country legend. One of his biggest later hits there. He stopped loving it today. As I say, George Jones was and is the king of broken hearts. He sang of life's hardships and struggles in a way that somehow lightened our own. On the end of this particular garden, George Jones up the one section. Down the other end here we have Billy Sherrill, who's a record producer, died 2015, songwriter, producer, musician, child of God. This one's not on the tour, I just noticed this one, Jerry Chesnut. It's not in the little booklet on the tour, but Jerry Chesnut died December 15th, 2018, or it's very recent actually, so just last year. Perhaps they haven't updated the booklet for some reason. But yeah, I know Jerry Chesnut from those songs there, Trouble, It's Midnight and Love Coming Down, which of course Elvis recorded. The Wonders You Perform, Elvis was scheduled to record that at Stax as well, but that was one of the tracks that the band laid down after Elvis didn't show up for the last day of recording, but he never actually got to record a vocal track for it. There's Johnny Paycheck. He's in just a few yards from George Jones here. Again, I can't say no much about Johnny Paycheck apart from his car is on display in the Storytellers Museum, Johnny Cash Storytellers Museum in Bon Aqua, Tennessee. Beyond that, I don't really know a lot about or anything about Johnny Paycheck. This is Larrie Londin, drummer. He lent his talents to so many, of course Elvis, Neil Young, Tammy, Wynette, B.J. Thomas, Hank Snow, Roy Rogers, Charlie Rich, Roger Miller, Ronnie Milsap, Olivia Newton-John, B.B. King, Tom Jones, Emmylou Harris, Merle Haggard, Mickey Gilley, Gatlin Brothers, Marvin Gaye, Crystal Gale, Glenn Fry, Skeeter Davis, Mac Davis, Everly Brothers, Perry Como, Johnny Cash, Carpenters, Eddy, Arnold, Chet Atkins, George Benson, Glenn Campbell. It's not a bad CV to have. Larrie Londin. There's Webb Pierce, died 1991. The world lost the star but heaven gained a new one. Wondering, Webb's first big hit, but no one in the world of music will ever be left wondering about the lasting international impact Webb had on country music, the business he gave most of his life to. Webb Pierce was at his peak probably in the 50s. He appeared on the bill above Elvis, of course, in 55 several times, including the Overton Park Shell second appearance Elvis made there on 5th of August 1955, and at the Mississippi Alabama Dare and Ferry Show on August 1st 55. Oh, here's Bob Montgomery. Now I've made music all of my life. Lover of life and music. Bob Montgomery, of course, was didn't get famous, but he was with Buddy Holly in the mid-50s. They out there in Lubbock, Texas, on radio station KDAV. They were a double act, Buddy and Bob. Made a few recordings together, sort of home recordings that you can hear. It was Buddy and Bob actually on the Cotton Club shows that KDAV had put on in Lubbock, Texas, that Elvis appeared on, that Buddy and Bob were on the bill. They amicably split. They remain friends, but of course Buddy Holly went on to his recording career, but Bob Montgomery stayed in the music business. So I'm missing the big one here. Perhaps absolute regard as the biggest one, Marty Robbins. Where is he? I mean, it's very good. You come, they go into the office, then they give you this leaflet, and it's got a map and showing where in the mausoleum the crypts are for the singers, music personalities, should we say, but and then you've got this map of the cemetery with the colour coordinated. It's very good, but of course once you get to the actual area where they are, like where you're now in Gethsemane, you've got to find them from there. So I found Webb Pierce, Bob Montgomery, Larrie, Londin. I can't find Marty Robbins, which I think would be possibly the easiest to find of the lot. So now Marty Robbins has defeated me. Oh, so here's Porter Wagoner. I've left this old world with a satisfied mind. It's good to touch the green grass of home. Called Porter Wagoner was of course recorded green grass of home before Tom Jones. We've left coins on the stone. So it's Porter Wagoner. Dobie Gray is here somewhere as well. Again, looks like I've been defeated on that one. Dobie Gray with the in crowd. So this is Eddy Arnold, huge country singer on country music charts. Eddy Arnold, and once managed by Colonel Tom Parker.
Never.
Yeah, he was Tom Parker's first big client, Eddy Arnold, but big country music star from the 40s all the way through, really. And it was Eddy Arnold who was playing the Ellis Auditorium in Memphis, 31st of October 1954, which Tom Parker had booked, although he was by now he'd been Eddy Arnold had sacked him as manager, but he allowed him to do a few bookings. And it was apparently on that night, 31st of October 54 at the Ellis, that Elvis first encountered Colonel Tom Parker. He'd gone to see Eddy Arnold, Elvis had. Not long into Elvis's performing career, of course. October had been a busy month for Elvis, of course. He'd bombed, or he'd been not quite as successful as he'd hoped on the Grand Ole Opry at the beginning of the month, but had been far more successful on the Louisiana Hayride in the middle of the month. and now he was coming to see an established country star at the Ellis Auditorium, and but because he was a recording artist, of course, Bob Neal had arranged for Elvis to go backstage to meet Eddy Arnold, and of course Colonel Tom Parker was there, and apparently he said to in passing, said to Elvis, perhaps I can book some dates for you someday. So I was also here that on this Eddy Arnold date at the Ellis, that Jordanaires were singing backup for Eddy Arnold, and Elvis apparently told Hoyt Hawkins of the Jordanaires that he'd love to have them sing backup for him one day. So Hoyt Hawkins probably at that point in time possibly didn't take that too seriously, as Elvis was an unknown quantity at that time. Now, this is an easier one to find. It's noisy with the grass cutters in the background. Owen Bradley, humble man, loved by his wife, family, music and boating, musician, record producer, founder of Music Row. So they were married 62 years. So Owen Bradley founded his studio on Music Row there in 55 in the basement of a house. So he's the one that started it up there, the Columbia studio it is now, Studio A. Well, Buddy Holly recorded songs there, but that's where Patsy Cline, Brenda Lee, Johnny Cash, countless others have recorded there over the years, Dylan. So here's one of the Speer brothers, Ben Speer. And somewhere in this area should be his brother Brock. That looks like it. No, it's just the parents. They were part of the Speer family gospel group. They were newly signed to RCA Records in 1956 themselves. The two brothers, Ben and Brock Speer, were utilised by Chet Atkins for Elvis's recording date on January the 11th, the day after his first recording. There were no backup singers on the first day when he recorded Heartbreak Hotel, and Gordon Stoker from the Jordanaires. He utilised the same trio for Elvis's next session at the McGavock Street Studios on April 14th 1956, when Only I Want You, I Need You, I Love You was recorded at that session, after Elvis was a bit shaken up over the flight trouble. This is the other Speer. Yeah, here's Brock Speer. Here's Brock Speer here. Yeah, so obviously it's a well kept cemetery, but they're cutting the grass here this morning, so you can't see the names. So there's Brock Speer. And after April, of course, by the time Elvis was next in a recording studio on July 2nd, 56, the Jordanaires were his backup singers, and so it would remain until 68. This place is so big. They've got a 20,000.
20,000 space.
Oh.
Space for 20,000.
Yeah. They've reproduced the Tomb of Christ in here. So let's go and take a look at this. Wow. This is something else, isn't it? Yeah, so they've reproduced this. as you see, the roof and the air vents. Obviously we're not outside, we are inside.